maybe? No?
I think you're fine.
Doesn't sound... Maybe you can find us some interesting people to interview. I lost my... Now we will talk about Belmont, but we also will talk about things that are going around us, because there's so much here that we should not miss. I'm trying to get all the museums involved, and we will tell you what's going on there, so we will not miss anything that's really interesting. Now, I'm a very old lady, as you can see, and I'm not the beauty queen. I hope you will bear with me if I mess up a little bit. I'll try my best, the best I can do. Now, I think we should begin. Fanfare, please. And that's...
I don't have that ready.
Not yet. Okay. It's, you know which one it is. It's the for the common man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I'll try to do better.
Do you want to introduce your guest?
Yes. Now that we start, I would like to start with the Belmont Media Center. Now, I was very surprised when I first came here. In fact, I was shocked how fabulous and state-of-the-art it was. Most of you probably don't know what a great resource we have here and the wonderful people that work here. One of them is Jane, who is, what is your title?
Training and Production Coordinator.
Training, and she does the training and production. And then Bob, of course, is the technical person. Without them, it couldn't happen. So now we'll see, they will explain a little bit what's going on and how these things are done. And we'll show you the studio, and you'll be just amazed how beautiful the place is. So, Jane, please tell me, how did you start doing what you're doing?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, so I first got involved in community media in high school. When I was in high school, we had a class that was taught by one of the staff members at the Access Center there. I took that class and I really liked it. So when I went to school, I went to Fitchburg State. I studied film and video. And while I was in school, I worked at my local Access Center. And then when I graduated, I worked there full-time for about a year and a half, and then I came here. So, yeah.
Well, we're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
So now, can Bob tell us how he started?
I came in off the street.
No, come. Let's hear the real story, which I'm sure will be interesting.
I took the train and coming off the street.
No, we want to know how it started. I bet it's a fascinating story.
How about if you finish with Jane and then we'll swap?
Or,
Yeah, there we go.
okay. So then after that, you thought you would try to get a job in this
Yes.
field.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to get a job?
Oh, a little bit to find this job after
Yes.
where I used to work. It took me a while to find a new one. But, there's
Here you are.
job boards and things that I
Here
found
you
this
are.
one on. Here I
We're
am.
very lucky to have you because I know you do a lot of training,
Yes.
even the kids.
Yep.
With the
we do
children,
lots of
which
kids
I
classes.
think is very interesting. Tell us more about what you do with the children.
So we do some school vacation classes here with really young kids, so kindergarten through 4th grade.
Really,
little
that
guys.
young?
Mm-hmm.
I bet they're cute.
They are cute. They're very energetic, too.
Yeah,
So
they
they're
probably
full of
drive you a
energy.
little crazy. They run around.
They have lots of energy. So we do those classes. They're a week long from 9 to noon. So during February vacation and April vacation, we do those. And then we've done some classes with kids in middle school to try and teach them how to volunteer on our sports productions. So we film a lot of the high school sports here. So we'd like to get some kids involved with that. We're always looking for volunteers to help on those
sports
productions.
are very big.
Yes. So I know you're not the biggest football fan, but
Don't say that. They'll run me out of town.
that's okay.
I love sports, but I don't like when they bang into each other. It's not healthy for their heads. But I did play soccer, which is not good either. You do the thing with your head. Not healthy either.
Mm-hmm.
So now what are the plans for this center now?
The plans, let's see. We've always got goals, things we want to work on and improve, and that's definitely, part of that is getting people to come in and do shows and get involved and volunteer. So we're always looking for new ways to get the word out that we're here. Sometimes it's tough to do that, but, a lot of the classes and events that we do here are all to interest people in coming
Yes.
in, and sometimes it just takes that one time that they come in the door and they see all that we have to offer here, and they
Look at
become
this.
members.
I came once and
Yeah.
I'm hooked for life.
Yeah. So,
I know a friend of mine, Bob Sullivan, he's going to read the news.
Oh, Talking News?
Yes.
Yep, that's a great program.
That's a good idea.
Yep, so that's a program that they do with the Council on Aging. They come in and they read the news.
Now,
it's a podcast.
what are you going to use for news?
For the Talking News?
newspaper, yeah.
So they take articles from the Belmont Citizen Herald, the newspaper,
Yep.
and they read them. The program used to be called Reading for the Blind, so it was just a way to
Yeah.
so that people could,
But I think
listen to some of the big
everybody-
news stories that are in the newspaper without having to read it.
A lot of people, I think, would like to hear it.
Yeah. Yep, and we
So
broadcast
they
it on
don't
our
have to
channels.
Look at the
And they
page.
pick like 10, I think around like 10 articles that they read, and every episode's about a half an hour, so.
This sounds very good.
Yeah, it's
I'll
great.
watch. Because, many people, older people especially, their eyes are not so good. They have a little trouble reading. And I think this would be, but they have to know about it.
Right.
So we have to let them. I think we should let the senior center know about that. They should say that what hours this is. I think that would be very important. I also want to bring Nava, the head of it, who is a friend, on. I think she will tell us a lot of interesting things that's happening at the center.
Definitely. They've got a lot of good programs there.
Yes, there are. Terrific programs. I went to one about chocolate.
Oh, how to make it?
It was how to eat it
Oh,
and
the
how
best.
to be a connoisseur. And I'm going
How
to
to know
bring
what is
the
good
lady
chocolate.
who gave it. Her name is Victoria. She will come and explain all about it. And now I'm almost a connoisseur.
So what's the best chocolate?
Well, it depends on your taste.
Oh, okay.
If you like very creamy stuff, it's not as healthy as the dark stuff. The dark is almost, they say, I can't believe it, but they say it's a health food.
Oh, all right. Sign me up.
So I hope they're right. The very dark chocolate is very good for you. The white chocolate, which is creamier, is not so good for you.
Lots of sugar,
you can have a little bit of it. The Belgian chocolate is very good. And then the Swiss is mostly milk, which is not very dark. I like a very strange Mexican one that's very grainy. I have to bring some. And very dark.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of taste.
What if you like it all?
You should not be judgmental. Or try not to be, though I sometimes am.
Yeah, well, you know.
So, what do you think? Does this show sound interesting or not?
I think it sounds like a great idea. You know, as someone who's been in Belmont, I haven't been in Belmont for very long. I've only been here for about a year. But you've been here for so long, so to kind of learn about some of these different things in town along with you, I think is a great idea.
I thought we might do every season the gardens, like spring, summer, and fall would be nice, even winter. We could
How to garden in the winter.
Yes. And there are many other things we can do. How about the pets that people have?
People love their pets.
Does anybody have an iguana?
No.
I knew somebody who had an iguana. The first time I saw one in Mexico, it scared me out of my wits. It looks like a dragon and dangerous, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're vegetarians.
Some people like them.
So they don't eat people. So, and also we should talk about the many volunteers you have. We should give them
We have a lot.
their due. Now, I have to hear about Bob. Tell us your story, please.
Bob, do you want to switch out?
He's very
Do you
reluctant.
want him to sit here?
I'm getting tired here of this.
Here, you can
I'm
sit.
not as good a director as I thought I
You can
was.
sit.
How long was this?
I don't know. I was,
Time flies when you have fun.
What do you think?
I don't know, 15 minutes maybe?
No, but what do you think about the way we do it?
I think people like it just when there's an informal conversation.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine. I think the main issue is just I wasn't paying good attention because I was playing with all the buttons.
Yeah. Oh.
Is my audio okay? Yeah.
But how
So
do
you were
I
telling
look?
me you were on the last trip that the famous Italian ocean liner, the Conte di Savoia,
was on.
was on.
Right. I think it was the last.
I think it was. I looked it up on Wikipedia. And you were
43 it was sunk. I was in the spring of 1940 on it, from Genoa to New York.
Yeah.
And it was very crazy times. We left Vienna. We were supposed to leave Vienna one day. We couldn't go because Hitler was meeting Mussolini on the Brenner Pass. Pass, and we had to go through the Brenner Pass, so we couldn't go. So we came one day late. Luckily, we didn't miss the ship. And when we got to Genoa, there was huge demonstrations.
Yeah.
Mare nostrum, our sea, the Mediterranean is not anybody's but ours.
So this was people who were upset. This was Italian nationalism.
It had Mussolini's idea. And look what he ended as. Not so good.
So the ship left Genoa.
It left Genoa, and the narrowest part where Africa and Europe meet is Gibraltar. And that was British.
Yeah.
And we stopped right outside of Gibraltar and waited. And we were very frightened that maybe they will return. And that was it.
Why did you think they might return?
Because they thought maybe Italy will declare war.
So
The
you
way
thought that they might want the ship
Yes,
back.
yeah, and they certainly didn't want to lose the ship. They didn't want the ship to be marooned in New York.
Well, you hear stories about the German ships that were overseas being confiscated when they declared war.
So, luckily, we went on to New York, and that's why I'm here.
How old were you?
I was a teenager.
That's impressionable
I
age.
came with my parents. But Italy was beautiful, I must say. I still like it a lot. And it was very strange when I was on the ship on the continent of Savoia.
Yeah.
The Italian police, they called them bersaglieri. They had big feathers on their helmets.
Yeah.
And they were waving to us. And I said to myself, I think they want me to come back. I was scared.
Yeah.
But they just waved.
But you've been back to Italy.
I was back to Italy, which I love. And we'll do a show on that, because there are places most people don't know, the best places to see the art, which in my opinion is a beautiful chapel in Padua, which is, unfortunately now you only can go in for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to ruin the paintings. It's done by Giotto.
Oh.
And I think it's the most beautiful thing in Italy. And most people don't even know about it. So there's a lot to talk about.
They have a lot of art.
Beautiful. Yes.
So you threw a coin in the fountain.
Yeah. No, I didn't actually. But the thing is, I found out in any place you go, it's the way you treat people, they treat you back. When I went to Italy, my Italian is marginal, I must say. But when you go in, the churches in my day, which is quite a while ago, were dark. But you say, Magnifico, bellissimo. Immediately the lights go on, and the people run after, oh, I want to show you this, I want to show you that. So it depends how you treat people. I used to go to Mexico on my own.
Yeah.
Same thing. Sometimes they rob you, but usually they're very nice. And I had some wonderful experiences in Mexico where people really, even the Indians were nice to me. And I couldn't talk to them because in those days the Indians, many did not speak Spanish.
So where did you go in Mexico?
Oh, all over. On my own, and I always tried to go with the native buses. They have color, red, blue, yellow, and the cheapest one where the Indians go. I like to go because it's more interesting.
On a bus?
On the bus.
Whoa.
And the bus,
Yeah.
you
With the
sit
chickens.
there and you look down, you see the street because it's all rotted out.
Yeah.
And then on top of the bus are the chickens and the pigs and the kids. They're sometimes crawling things.
Yeah.
But, that's how you see how other people live. And I always carried some Kleenex.
Yeah.
And I gave the kids, and they looked at it and folded it, and, it's just amazing. And the people were very nice to me, I must say. And we couldn't talk because they didn't speak Spanish, and I didn't speak their native language. And they used to, in those days, they still dressed in their native um, dress.
Yeah.
Like in the Yucatan, the women had these beautiful white dresses with beautiful embroidery.
Yeah.
And then they had this, in other places, every village has its own design,
Yeah.
almost, in those days.
Yeah.
They had beautiful hand-woven garments.
Yeah.
And I used to have shops all over.
Yeah.
Nantucket, Newport, St. Thomas, Harvard Square, Greenwich Village, and I used to roam Mexico to buy things. And I met some very interesting people that way.
So, the store was in Harvard Square.
Well, the one was in Harvard Square for many years, 42A Brattle.
What was it called?
Wherever I go, I meet people that remember my shop, either in Nantucket, in Newport, in St. Thomas, in New York, or in Harvard Square. Well, my last one actually was in Porter Square.
Okay. What was the name?
My name, Kitty Haas.
Oh, okay.
And as I said, I just did a show with a lady, with a chocolate lady. A lady said, "Oh, here you are." I remember when I was a teenager, you made a dress for me. So it's very interesting. I used to design, I don't sew, but I used to design clothes. I clothed half of Cambridge. And then also in Newport. But Newport was not my favorite place. I will bring a friend of mine who worked for me in Newport. Her maiden name was Brown. She is one of the people that her forefathers formed Brown. And it's a very interesting story. When they gave up their mansion in Newport, they had a beautiful piece of furniture, which they donated to Brown University I think, for a building. And how much money do you think they got for it? Give a guess.
$10.
No, come on.
Who? Them or the Brown?
Brown got
Oh,
for
millions.
10 million.
Wow.
It was a beautiful highboy made, for them, and somebody in Texas bought it. And there is a similar one. If you ever go to Washington, the State Department has beautiful rooms. I don't know if now you can go, but years ago you could go, and there's one like that there. They have beautiful furniture there. There's another thing. I know quite a bit about Washington because I used to work with the Smithsonian. We used to make jewelry that we got from France, Art Nouveau jewelry, and we used to sell it to the Smithsonian. And they have some wonderful stuff. Those museums are fabulous. Maybe we can get them to send us some stuff too.
Plus, they're free.
Yes,
When you go to Washington, they're free.
Well, you know about the McMullen here,
Yeah.
one of my favorite museums. At BC,
Yeah.
there's a wonderful museum.
At Boston College.
Boston College is called the Macmillan, and the cardinal, this cardinal, who's a very good guy apparently, gave his mansion to the museum, and they built a beautiful annex to it for the museum. And they have the best shows because their scholarship is beyond belief. Much.
So
I
I've lived in
shouldn't say.
Boston for decades, and I
You
didn't know
never
that
knew
museum. I
about
didn't
it.
know about it.
I
Yeah.
know. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get all the museums. People miss things. There was this wonderful show called More Than Words,
Mhm.
which was a fantastic show. There was a lady from England, from the British Library. Her name is Anne-Marie Eze. And she came to work at the Gardner Museum, it's the Elizabeth Stewart Gardner Museum. And I don't know if you know what the place looks like. It's chock full of stuff. And there are many, many cabinets that are closed, but they have stuff in them. She looked and found these wonderful books and manuscripts from the Renaissance. She unearthed them, literally, and decided there should be a show of all these wonderful books that are in this area. And Dr. Hamburger from the Houghton, the Houghton, of course, has the most fabulous stuff in the world. They decided to do a show of all these things that are in this area, believe it or not. And they had a fantastic show on this from at the Gardner, at the Macmillan at BC, and at the Harvard Library. And they had people from all over the world giving lectures.
Wow.
Every corner of the world. Of course, lots of from England, from Holland, from France, lots from France, and from Italy, because a lot of the stuff was Italian, of course, because the Renaissance was a big center for bookmaking and printing even. After the manuscripts, they did the printing. And of course, Germany. And the lectures were fantastic. I went to every one of them, which was tough, because I hate to get up early in the morning.
I know the
And
feeling.
it was early.
So
And I trekked.
you've been back to Italy.
Yes.
Have you been back to Austria or Germany?
Once.
What did you think? When was
I
it?
couldn't find many people that I knew.
Oh.
My uncle passed away,
Oh.
and there wasn't much.
So when you came to the United States, what was that like?
Well, I immediately liked it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was it. Forget about Europe. They can have it. It's old. This is better.
Yeah.
And actually, I have a strange history. My father's family, my great-grandfather, came here very early, maybe in the 1840s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he had lots of kids. And everybody came except my grandfather,
Yeah.
who was studying law.
Yeah.
So he stayed in Vienna. And so all those relatives are 15th generation American.
Yeah.
Not that it helped me, but this was interesting. And my father actually came as a young man, and I don't know why he went back. He did go back and then married my mother. But I immediately liked it. I don't know why.
And
This
was
was
this in
it.
New York?
I was in New York first, yes. And then I came to Cambridge, and I always did crafts. So I started doing ceramics.
Yeah.
And I made, in New York City, I had I lived first I lived uptown, and then I lived in the village, which was wonderful. In the 40s, the village was really what you think the village
Yeah.
is not anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
But they were mostly artists. We were all very poor, but we managed. We had a lot of fun, lots of parties, and it was really great. And terrific food, terrific theater. They had these little theater groups, especially in the village. And so I made my living making ceramics, and then I did enameling.
Yeah.
And I met somebody who told me about Nantucket.
Yeah.
And so I went to Nantucket and opened a big shop there. And then I don't know how I got into clothing,
Yeah.
because I don't sew, but I designed clothing. And that's how the whole thing started. Then I met somebody who told me about St. Thomas. So I went in the winter to St. Thomas. And then I met somebody in Cambridge, Angela Brown, the brown lady, who brought me to Newport, unfortunately. I didn't like Newport.
No?
No.
Why not?
The rich are not my cup of tea.
Oh.
They think they own the world. Well, they don't own my world. Believe me, they don't.
So how
But
did
it
you
was
end up
interesting. It was interesting. We're still friends with her. She was the best
We'll have to cut
helper
this out.
I ever had, because she worked on a commission,
Yeah.
and she worked.
Oh.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still a friend.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
have her on. She'll come on.
okay. Excellent idea.
She had, she has that mansion. It was called Harbor Court, right on the water, and they sold it to the New York Yacht Club. It's now the New York Yacht Club.
So how did you end up in Belmont?
I don't know if I should tell that story. I don't think that's for publication. But how I went to I had a shop on Brattle Street, 42A, right on Brattle Street. And I lived right behind it. And there was a funny, my mother, I always had a New York apartment, but now my mother came to stay with me for a while, and there was a funny odor. And I knew that had to be a gas leak. So I called the gas company, and the guy came up and said, "Lady, that ain't no gas leak. This is, your landlady has cats and dogs in the basement." And that's what it is. Well, I screamed, "I have to move today. How can I be here with my mother with this thing?" So I ran to, at that time, I had the place on Brattle Street. Next to me was Mr. Bernheimer, who had an art gallery. He was from Munich. He had a very famous one in Munich, but he had one here too, later. And so I said, "I have to move. Tell me, where can I get an apartment?" He said, "No, you have to buy a house."
Okay.
And I didn't want a house. I was fairly young. And I traveled. I had Nantucket, Newport, said, "Oh, come on, New York. Who needs a house?" No, you have to buy a house. The best thing that ever happened in my life. Because he gave me a guy in Belmont, Mr. Dignan. That's 50 years ago. The first house I saw, and the reason I got it is that on the corner was a bus to Harvard Square.
Oh, okay.
So I immediately got it and moved in. And I wasn't there much because, I was traveling.
But it was a good investment.
It was a very good investment. It wasn't the best house, but it's good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough. Ugly outside, nice inside. And it had a garden,
Yeah.
which now is a major disaster. But that's how it is. I can't do much.
So we've probably, this has probably been a half hour to maybe 45 minutes. I'm looking at our director and
How
she's
does it
nodding.
sound? Okay?
So how do you think it went okay?
What do I know?
Hope,
I know nothing.
Did you have fun? Did you like it?
If you think it's good enough.
we covered a lot of
Good
territory.
enough?
And
Good enough?
yeah, it was easy.
It wasn't too stressful
Yeah.
because I knew it wasn't real. I don't know if it's real, maybe it will be.
Well, we're not a real
Now-
station. Think of
Now
it that
tell
way.
me one thing. If I make a boo-boo and can you take it away?
Jane
Can
won't
you-
be happy about it, but
Can you because I lose my train of thought. Can you remove it? Or if a long pause, can you remove it? So you have to tell us what should be interesting.
if we were to run this show, it would get high ratings. Because your story was interesting, and it is the story of how everyone comes to Belmont. Everyone comes to Belmont on a different road. And everyone wants to know, how did the other guy get here? This show would be fine.
Well, there's one thing about Belmont I will never forgive them, is what was that awful right-wing thing that had her headquarters here? But I
Oh, the
won't
John Birch
mention it.
Society. Yeah.
I had a lady working for me, a girl working. I ran my shops with Wellesley and Radcliffe girls, and were they smart? Oh boy, you didn't have to tell them much. And this girl, they had her family. Her father was a MIT professor. They had a house up on the hill, and her neighbors were those bad people.
Oh.
But they're gone.
I would say they weren't so great, but I worked for a place that sold them some equipment, so they were customers.
Oh, really? Where are they now? They're
I don't know. I heard, I made a delivery there once, 20 years ago.
Well, my friend told me they weren't nice. They were her neighbors. Well, we won't talk about politics because that would be bad. I'm very excited. I get very upset. But
Are we still recording? Is the streaming still say streaming?